First at 4, the margins are getting smaller in the race for the White House. We'll have the latest numbers, plus what the Trump campaign is saying about the election. Plus, here at home, protesters gather outside of the TCF Center in downtown Detroit. Find out what protesters are demanding today. Paula.
Well, as election rhetoric heats up, experts are urging everyone to pump the brakes and cool down. I'll have important context for a lot of what you're hearing.
Fall of sunshine is back, and that could lead to record temperatures not once, but 3 times in the next 4 days. We'll look at all of that right now, first at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, more clarity could come today in the 2020 presidential election. Let's get right to where things stand at this hour in the race to 270. You're looking at the electoral map. As you can see, Joe Biden is leading President Trump 264 to 214. Several battleground states have yet to declare a winner as ballots are still being counted. In Pennsylvania, Joe Biden is now leading President Trump by nearly 14,000 votes. In Georgia, there are just a few thousand votes to be counted. A razor-thin margin separates Joe Biden and President Trump. An unknown number of military and overseas ballots, which will be tallied if they are in by 5 o'clock this afternoon. And there's still a way to go to count the ballots in Nevada. Biden currently leads Nevada by more than 20,000 votes. Meantime, as the margins are narrowing in the race for the White House, President Trump won't go down without a fight. Devin Scillian is following the very latest developments. And Devin, the president is making it clear that he will contest this election.
That's right, Karen. The presidential race nearing the finish line, but how far away is it? Democratic nominee Joe Biden is within striking distance of those 270 electoral votes needed to take the presidency, with protests continuing now on both sides. The Trump team making it clear they will contest this. In a statement released this afternoon, President Trump says, "We believe the American people deserve to have full transparency into all vote counting and election certification, and that this is no longer about any single election. This is about the integrity of our entire election process. From the beginning, we have said that all legal ballots must be counted and all illegal ballots should not be counted, yet we have met resistance to this basic principle by Democrats at every turn. We will pursue this process through every aspect of the law to guarantee that the American people have confidence in our government. I will never give up fighting for you and our nation." End of quote. Meanwhile, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, warns about what she sees as the dangers of all of what we've been watching. Biden campaign also released a statement, and it reads thusly: "As we said on July 19th, the American people will decide this election, and the United States government is perfectly capable of escorting trespassers out of the White House." Now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are expected to address the nation tonight at 8 p.m., so a lot here for us to follow. More coming up on Local 4 News at 5. And for the latest numbers, we continue to advise you to stay on track with clickondetroit.com. We're updating those totals as often as possible. Karen, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Devin. Well, the absentee ballot counting may be over, but a group of protesters still showed up outside the TCF Center demanding answers. Now, this is video from earlier this afternoon. State police blocked off the southbound lodge coming into downtown Detroit. Let's get to our Hank Winchester. He joins us live with what's behind these protests, and you've been out there for hours. Has the mood changed since afternoon?
Essentially, the mood changed because everybody basically split. That's what happened, Karen. Take a live look behind me. You can see there are more Detroit police officers here now than actual protesters. On this side of the barricades, you have those representing the Black Lives Movement. On the other side, you see just maybe about 10 people, supporters of President Trump. Take a look at some of the video from earlier, because at around 10 this morning, that's when things started getting a little crowded down here. About 250 people, the majority of those who represent supporters of President Trump and VP Pence. They were out here because they were concerned, they say, with how things went down here at the TCF Center regarding the counting of ballots. They feel that there was some illegal activity regarding those ballots, and they also feel that President Trump won Michigan fairly and squarely. But you talk to the Secretary of State, to the clerk here, Janice Winfrey, to the Attorney General, and they all say that the numbers show that this election was fair, and that VP Biden has walked away as the winner, at least here in the state of Michigan. Again, back out here live, you can see for the most part, Detroit police have done a very good job of working to control the situation today. There were a few tense moments when the counter-protesters made their way close to this group supporting the president, but the police chief did his best to only intervene when it was absolutely necessary. New tonight at 5 o'clock, you're going to hear from DPD Chief Craig in regards to this situation and also other protests that may be planned soon here in the future. For now, that's the latest here in downtown Detroit. I'm Hank Winchester. Karen, back to you.
All right, always appreciate it. Thank you, Hank. Republican officials want the state to look into how votes were counted in Michigan. National GOP Chair Ronna McDaniel claims Republican challengers were not allowed to watch ballots be counted at TCF Center. She also says the whistleblower alleges dates on ballots were changed there. McDaniel says there are more than 100 reports of irregularities at the TCF Center.
We need to pursue these irregularities, and we need people to be patient and give us the time to investigate. These are serious allegations of changing the date on ballots and refusing to let people observe in a meaningful way an election of this magnitude.
Now, yesterday, a judge threw out a Trump campaign lawsuit over the vote count. The RNC says it now has lawyers in Michigan and 3 other states to make sure the election was fair. President Trump took to our TVs last night and declared without any evidence that there is widespread fraud in this election. Some fellow Republicans called out the president about his words, saying they were inappropriate and dangerous. Paula Tutman sits down with experts today about what President Trump said and what those claims do to a country that so prides itself in democracy.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
Without a shred of evidence, last night the President of the United States attacked the democratic process of counting legal votes.
There have been a number of disturbing irregularities across the nation. Our campaign has been denied access to observe any counting in Detroit.
Here are the facts. While his followers did storm the TCF vote count center during vote counting, there were Republican representatives inside working alongside Democrat representatives. Michael Warren is a staunch Republican who ran against Gary Peters in 1994 and ran unsuccessfully for state office. As an Oakland County Circuit Court judge, he sits in a nonpartisan position.
There's been cause for recounts. Perfectly fine. That's perfectly acceptable. We need to have recounts to ensure the integrity of the ballot.
Professor Peter Trumbore is the chair of the Political Science Department at Oakland University and an expert in political violence.
I think we would be kidding ourselves to say that there is not a racial dimension to the pro-Trump allegations. And given that they've all focused on majority black cities.
Next question, what is more important, the candidate or the Constitution?
We should not have cults of personality in this country. We should be well-grounded in our public policy in connection with any kind of public policy, but also elections.
One of the things that I think we all should be proud of is the professionalism of state and local election officials all across the country. However, the message coming from the president and the failure of others in the president's own party to push back against that in forceful ways, I think is what makes the United States look diminished in the eyes of the world.
Way back when Jefferson beat John Adams, and that was a vicious race, very similar to the race that we just went through. Jefferson went up to his first inaugural and said, differences of opinion do not have to be differences in principle. If we could hearken back to that spirit and have a unified country around what makes America the best country in the world, then we have a very bright future. And if we forget what makes us the greatest country in the world and instead focus on personality attacks and ad hominem attacks and things that are not bound by policy but by other things, then we're going to tear ourselves apart and we're not going to survive as a free people.
Okay, so I do want to address that tweet that we showed you earlier that was put out by the Biden spokesperson. Let's just put that back up on screen. I'm just going to paraphrase it. It essentially indicates that the Secret Service is perfectly adept at escorting Trump out of the White House with a box of his stuff if he refuses to leave January 20th. Listen, both of our experts agree that now is not the time for that kind of amped up rhetoric that ticks off the other side. Now is the time for as many people as possible to just cool down, take the high road, because when we talk about that important transfer, a peaceful transfer of power, that is about the supporters as well as the leaders they support.
Most
Karen?
definitely. All right. Thank you very much, Paula. Now, to the latest on the coronavirus situation in Michigan. Today's new COVID-19 numbers have been delayed, so we're going to bring them to you as soon as we get them from the state. Meantime, as you remember, yesterday, the state reported 5,710 cases with 51 deaths. University of Michigan announces its winter semester plans to curb the spread of coronavirus. U of M says all undergrad students who don't need to live on campus dorms should stay at home for the semester. Any students who have to live in dorms will get their own room. Any undergrad student on campus will be tested weekly for COVID, and more classes will move online for the winter semester. Still to come, first at 4. A Today Show host revealing he's fighting a battle with cancer. Find out why he hopes his diagnosis will bring more awareness to the disease. Plus, Ben is here with a look at our weekend forecast.
And Karen, it looks pretty good. Look at these temperatures for just Saturday and Sunday. 71 both days, could be tying or breaking records into next week. More on the unseasonable warmth and historic warmth next.
All right, Ben, but first, tense moments in Italy after an oil tanker catches fire on a busy highway. Details next.